4 a.m. in the Taiwan Strait. The sea is calm, but this is the silence before the storm. Within minutes, an event could unfold that might push the world into its greatest crisis since World War II. This is not a movie. This is a hypothetical scenario based on real military simulations and expert analyses, the first 24 hours of a full-scale Chinese invasion of Taiwan. From lightning airstrikes to brutal amphibious assaults, what would actually happen in those decisive hours? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're not talking about what has happened, but about what could happen. A chilling scenario that military experts at the Center for Strategic and International Studies have modeled and dissected dozens of times. The first 24 hours of a Chinese invasion of Taiwan. If war breaks out, it won't just reshape Asia's future, it will shake the entire global order. It could determine the fate of 23 million Taiwanese people, test America's power, and even alter China's internal political structure. Let's break down the 24 most intense hours of the 21st century to understand the scale, strategy, and devastating consequences of this imagined conflict. Before the countdown begins, we must understand why the Taiwan Strait is one of the world's most dangerous flashpoints. Geopolitically, Taiwan is a critical link in the First Island chain, a defense line used by the US and its allies to contain China's navy. If Beijing seizes Taiwan, it gains a direct gateway into the Pacific, challenging US dominance in the region. For China, reunification is a historical mission, a crucial step toward the Chinese dream. Economically, Taiwan is even more vital. It is the heart of global semiconductor production. Taiwanese company TSMC manufactures roughly 90% of the world's most advanced chips under 10 nanometers, chips that power everything from smartphones and computers to the USS. Military's most sophisticated weapons. U.S. Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo once warned that if China took TSMC, it would be an absolute disaster for both the U.S. and the global economy. In short, Taiwan is both a strategic fortress and a silicon shield protecting the world's tech economy. For years, China has used gray zone tactics, sending fighter jets and warships across the median line of the strait to wear down Taiwan's defenses and normalize its military presence. Taiwan, backed by US weapons, has adopted a Porcupine Strategy, focusing on inflicting maximum pain on any invader. It invests heavily in anti-ship and anti-air missiles, and has extended military conscription to prepare for a prolonged defense. The U.S. maintains strategic ambiguity. It never promises military intervention, but always hints at it. American warships regularly transit the strait, signaling support, while Japan and other allies see Taiwan's security as essential to their own. All these factors create an explosive situation, a powder keg where any miscalculation could ignite a war. And our scenario begins the moment the fuse is lit. The invasion doesn't start with explosions, it begins with silence. At 4 a.m., elite Chinese cyber warfare units launch a massive digital assault on Taiwan's command and control systems. Radar screens go dark, encrypted communications collapse. Taiwan's defense network is suddenly blind and deaf. Moments later, the national power grid crashes. Banks and media networks go offline or are hijacked by Chinese propaganda, calling for Taiwanese forces to surrender. Panic spreads as civilians wake to darkness and confusion. Then, the storm of steel begins. Hundreds of short-range ballistic missiles DF-15 and DF-16 streak across the strait at hypersonic speed, hitting their targets in under 10 minutes. Taiwan's air defenses roar to life, firing interceptors into the night, but the saturation attack is overwhelming. Key targets include air bases, runways cratered to stop fighter takeoffs, radar stations, blinding Taiwan's early warning system, naval bases, docks, fuel depots, and warships hit. Command bunkers, even hardened sites suffer disruptions. CSIS simulations show that much of Taiwan's air and naval forces could be crippled before they can even fight back. Immediately afterward, waves of Chinese warplanes, J-20 stealth fighters, J-16 seconds, J-10 seconds, and H-6 bombers take off to establish air superiority. Taiwanese F-16Vs and Mirage 2000s scramble desperately to fight back, but they're vastly outnumbered. Meanwhile, in Washington, the Pentagon and White House go into crisis mode. Satellites confirm missile launches. The President convenes the National Security Council. Carrier strike groups from the U.S. 7th Fleet head toward the Strait. Nuclear submarines shift into strike positions. By the end of the first 4 hours, China has achieved its opening goal: paralyze Taiwan's command structure and seize control of the skies. As dawn breaks, the war enters a new phase. Under the cover of air superiority, the PLA launches its first major assault forces. Their targets are strategic choke points: Taoyuan International Airport and Taichung Airport. Hundreds of transport aircraft and low-flying helicopters surge across the strait. Elite PLA paratroopers drop in to seize these airports, aiming to establish air bridges for troops and heavy equipment to flow deep into Taiwanese territory. Fierce firefights erupt on the runways against Taiwan's garrison forces. At the same time, Chinese naval special operations divers secretly approach major ports such as Kaohsiung and Keelung to disable coastal defenses and guide the main amphibious landing force. This becomes a race against time. Taiwan orders full mobilization. Tens of thousands of reservists are called up. Armored and artillery units, previously dispersed to avoid preemptive strikes, begin converging on the battle zones. Roads leading to the airports turn into war zones, where Taiwanese troops fight desperately to repel the Chinese paratroopers. Civilian resistance also begins to rise. Local defense units erect barricades and relay intelligence. The fighting spirit of the Taiwanese people, described by CSIS as the decisive factor, starts to show. If Taiwan collapses before U.S. intervention, everything will be lost. While ground battles rage, the main event unfolds at sea. China's massive amphibious fleet sails into the effective range of Taiwan's coastal defenses. This is where the Porcupine Strategy comes alive. From concealed positions, Taiwan opens fire. Waves of Xiongfeng-2 and Xiongfeng-3 anti-ship missiles, dubbed carrier killers, skim just above the waves, slamming into Chinese formations. PLA escort ships unleash a wall of defensive fire. Some missiles are intercepted, but others break through. Enormous plumes of water rise as Chinese warships and transports are struck. One landing ship bursts into flames. A destroyer is heavily damaged. Meanwhile, U.S. supplied HIMARS rocket batteries and Taiwan's self-propelled artillery join the barrage. The PLA retaliates with even more intense airstrikes, hunting Taiwan's missile launchers. Losses among China's amphibious forces are severe. According to the most extreme CSIS simulations, China could lose a large portion of its landing fleet within weeks of fighting, especially during this perilous crossing phase. Yet the scale of its armada is immense. Despite the losses, hundreds of ships continue pressing forward. By midday on the first day, the battle has reached its most critical stage. The fate of Taiwan now depends on whether it can inflict enough damage to break the assault before the first PLA soldiers set foot on its beaches. The afternoon of the first day witnesses the most brutal scene yet, the amphibious landing. Despite heavy losses, the first PLA landing ships reach the southwestern beaches of Taiwan. Their ramps drop, and thousands of Marines and armored vehicles surge toward shore. They are met immediately by a wall of fire. The Taiwanese army has turned the beaches into fortresses. Mines detonate. Machine gun nests and anti-tank emplacements open up in unison. M1A2T tanks and Taiwanese infantry lie hidden in pre-planned positions, waiting for the enemy to come within range. The fighting on the beaches is ferocious. Every meter of ground is bought with blood. PLA Marines face concentrated defensive fire and the unyielding determination of Taiwanese troops. Amphibious assault vehicles become easy prey for Javelin anti-tank missiles. The PLA's immediate objective is simple: establish and hold a beachhead, a secure foothold on the coast, to unload reinforcements and prepare for deeper inland assaults. In some sectors, Taiwanese forces successfully repel the attackers. Elsewhere, the PLA, leveraging numerical superiority, breaches the defenses and secures several small, fragile beachheads. But the cost is devastatingly high. As night falls, the war on the international stage begins to heat up. In Washington, the U.S. president delivers a global address condemning China's unprovoked and brutal invasion. Immediately after, the administration begins drafting the toughest economic sanctions yet. Measures include freezing the assets of Chinese banks and discussions about excluding China from the SWIFT international payment system, a move that could isolate its economy. Japan declares a national emergency, calling the attack on Taiwan an existential threat. The Japanese Prime Minister considers authorizing the self-defense forces to provide logistical support for U.S. operations, a major step that could make Japan an indirect participant, depending on how events unfold. The European Union, Australia, Canada, and the United Kingdom also condemn China and impose sanctions. Global stock markets tumble. On the battlefield, U.S. carrier strike groups move closer to Taiwan. Tense encounters occur between American and Chinese aircraft. Beneath the waves, U.S. submarines slip into strike positions, preparing for potential attacks on the PLA Navy, a move analysts warn could dangerously escalate the conflict. By the end of the first 24 hours, chaos reigns. China has paid a steep price, suffering severe losses to its Navy and amphibious forces. It has established a few fragile beachheads, but failed to achieve the rapid collapse of Taiwan. Taiwan has survived the initial shock. Though battered, its ground forces remain largely intact and are fighting with fierce determination. Morale remains high. The United States and its allies have responded forcefully. Intervention, at least indirectly, is already underway. The first 24 hours have passed, but this is only the prelude to a conflict that could last weeks and determine the fate of the 21st century. The first 24 hours of this hypothetical war reveal a chilling reality of modern conflict, a brutal fusion of high technology and bloody attrition. China demonstrates its vast military might, but also encounters fierce resistance and pays a devastating price. The consequences extend far beyond the Taiwan Strait. The global semiconductor supply chain, heavily reliant on TSMC, has been completely severed. This immediately triggers a crisis across industries, from automobiles to electronics, raising the specter of a worldwide economic recession. Militarily, the first day proves that the invasion of Taiwan would be anything but easy. According to CSIS war simulations, in most scenarios, China would struggle to achieve full occupation of the island. However, the defenders would suffer what could be called a Pyrrhic victory, a win at an unbearable cost. Worst-case projections show the U.S. losing hundreds of aircraft, 2 aircraft carriers, and thousands of personnel. Taiwan would be devastated, and China could face a military disaster that shakes its internal stability. The first 24 hours have ended, but the biggest questions remain. Will the PLA's fragile beachheads hold? How long can Taiwan endure? And most importantly, will the U.S. and its allies choose direct military intervention, a move that could ignite a confrontation between 2 nuclear superpowers? The first week of this war would be far bloodier still. Share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think happens next? Can the world do anything to prevent such a catastrophe? Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next episode in this analytical series. Thank you for watching.